Good evening, lovely tubers. White Mexican back again for another Market Watch investments video tonight. It's a pretty colorful perspective of cards that I would like to review with you guys today. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day, making some amazing Yu-Gi-Oh investments yourself. Tonight we're gonna get things kicked off with Necro Valley. This is a really diverse card, and there's some pretty awesome rarities. Got the ultimate rare being the highest. It's got a pretty fat price point here. We got Dual Saga, Legendary Collections 3, Normal, Ultra. What I want to talk about more specifically is the Pharaonic Guardian OG print from Generation 1. This set was really awesome. A lot of people like the new errata. You can see here the new text. I kind of gave it some boost to a certain extent on its effect. This is a really great card. Obviously, naturally, it's a Gravekeeper's card, but it's also really good for anti-meta because it really messes and augments with the graveyard, which is a really big deal for a lot of decks running around, and it always will be. The graveyard is a giant mechanism in this game of our game of Yu-Gi-Oh! So, pretty legendary. So this is the OG super rare print. There's only 3 pages available on the market here for this card. And the first edition that we're going to find here is going to be roughly around almost 4-ish, 5 bones if you want to factor in shipping. No stacks. These are all one-ofs. Let's go ahead and take a look at the last page. So really no stacks at all. It starts to bottom up at 26, which is pretty incredible. I knew this card was eventually going to go up. For the longest time, it was like at $1, $2, $3, and it's slowly starting to trickle up now. It's definitely getting chewed up on the market. As you can see, there is only 3 pages left, and there is not really any stacks whatsoever. Always been a big fan of this card, and particularly the OG print, Gen 1 print. Of course, Ultimate looks very nice too, but it's also a lot more difficult to acquire, and it's very pricey. An alternative to the super rare, if you guys aren't feeling the super rare, would be the Dusa Ultra Rare, which again has its own unique ultra rare foiling. It's a special type of ultra rare foiling, which is pretty great. And this one's gonna go for about 3.5 plus. And there's a 15. Oh, this is a foreign print, so never mind. 3 pages of this as well, so not really a lot of fat stacks. You guys can take a look at that later if you want. So Dusa would be another alternative. So really great stuff. So moving on here, Masters Collection Volume 1. Mentioned in my last video, I wanted to start reviewing a little bit more of obscure sets. I kind of dipped into, what was the set that I reviewed? It's slipping my mind right now, but Retro Pack 1. This is Retro Pack 1, actually be later in the video. Master Collection Volume 1. There's 2 volumes of this. This was the first wave. You have Thousand Eyes Restrict. All the promos are secret rare. Thousand Eyes Restrict was banned for the longest time. It came off the list quite a bit ago now. I want to say it's been maybe 2-ish years or so, if that. Pretty sure this card got off the list when I was living in Japan. But this is my personal favorite rarity. There's a lot of great rarities that Restrict comes in. This is my favorite as the secret rare promo. And this card's actually decreased a little bit in value. It's down to about 7 bones now if you want to factor in shipping for the first couple ones. Not really a lot of stacks. There's just a pair playset right here. And there's 4 pages left on the market for that. Really quick, let's take a peek at the other versions. Of course, you're going to have the OG First Edition Ultras from Pharaoh Servant, Generation 1. Super nostalgic, really, really great set. Really fun memories, good times. We got a couple different ultra rare prints. I mean, Retro Pack, of course, it's going to be, good money. Just a very obscure set, to say the least. Really cool, though. I do really appreciate the Retro Packs. And Pharaoh Servant. Okay, so that Pharaoh Servant original OG Ultra first would be my favorite. There's the thousand restrict, the secret rare that we were talking about, Dual Sleek super rare, and then the rest of them are really not anything too impressive. let's go back to review the other card that I wanted to review from this set. Relinquish is pretty cool too. Thousand Eye Restrict is a little bit more powerful, and it's been banned for a while, and it came off the list, so it's a little bit more popular, I would say. Although Relinquish has gotten some support, and I believe some of the legendary duelist sets, if I'm not mistaken. But this is pretty cool how this is the highest rate that we have here. That's the secret rare. Head of Exodia, secret rare is pretty nice too. I'm not really too concerned about Barrel Dragon or Dark World Hades, but Dark Necrofear has really fantastic artwork. This has got really dark imagery. It's like an evil alien with this like porcelain doll, the cracked skull, and it's looking pretty crazy. These, of course, is the promo secret, which have been cheap forever, and there's still 5 pages on the market, which I'm very surprised people haven't picked up on it. It's not the quickest card, it's not the best card, but I mean, it's a dark, it's a fiend, it's a level 8, it's got all the right ingredients to go into some pretty good engines. It's definitely down my alley for preferences. There's a lot of great versions of this card. There's a DT version. There's the OG Labyrinth of Nightmare Ultra, which is really awesome. That's a Gen 1 collector card now as well. So between my personal preference would be the super rare promo from Master Collection Volume 1 or the DT. The DT here is just, about under around 2 bones here. So this is personally my favorite right now for the price and what it is. I talk about this a lot. The DT2 rare is really, really nice. Then it would probably go with secret rare promo. Really quick, out of curiosity, I want to take a look at the OG print ultras. Let's see what first editions are going for, which is probably going to be pretty ungodly expensive right now because Labyrinth of Nightmare is an extremely ancient set, and there's just a lot of great history to it. Only 2 pages on the market for this OG print, and first edition is surprisingly enough only 26, and then they move up to almost about 40, and then 50. So these kind of sound about right. This 26 one is probably not going to last too long, but there's the OG prints for you guys. So just wanted to review that really quick. Moving on, gonna move into some Floodgate traps. You guys know I'm a big fan of Floodgate continuous trap cards, so might as well talk about Royal Oppression. It's been a little bit since I've talked about this card. This card is banned as shit right now. It's super good. There's some pretty cool, well, really the DT is really the only thing that's really impressive. You got the Gold Series 4, these 2 rare versions, with the OG one being from Legacy of Darkness. But honestly, the only thing that I think is worthwhile getting would be the Dual Terminal 4 commons, which look very great. I have several of these myself. Now, again, remember this card is completely banned. My belief on the ban list is that everything comes off the ban list eventually in a matter of time. It's just a matter of fact if it gets errated or not. So keep that in mind. That's just my personal preference on the ban list. But I definitely there's potential for this coming off. And artwork is kind of out there. It's alright. It's kind of got like that old school artwork of like the first like primal years of the game, which is pretty cool. It's pretty expensive. It starts off at 5 bones and then just kind of trickles up after that. Only 2 pages left. Here's a 5 stack and a 10 stack. This was not this expensive before. I think the highest I've seen this card was like around 3. So maybe this is just the after effect of the hype calming down of the ban list just dropped and nothing was really released. So maybe this is kind of just slowly recovering, but this would definitely be the ideal choice if you were to go into Royal Oppression. Next is going to be Royal Command. So we have some commons, a rare, so the OG print, Gen 1 Labyrinth of Nightmare is going to be the best choice to go into, more specifically for collectors, because this is of that era now. It's definitely the right time frame to be very much a collector's card. Stops flip effects. Flip effects are very slow and somewhat inferior now to a certain extent. There's really not a whole lot of decks that use them. You got like Subterror, Shadals are really the only ones that really come to mind that are somewhat prevalent. Well, Shaddolls are very prevalent, but Subterrors, they're kind of roguey. You kind of run them around, run into them. They're kind of like landmines. You never really know when you're gonna run into one. And these are all unlimited. 4 pages on the market for this. What's cool about this is a collector's card now, but also it, depending on what's going on with the meta, it could be a potential good side option. And there's a lot of good side cards out there. It's about 10 bones. Here's a 4 stack for a 10. And it's 10, 10. It's pretty much 10 all across the board for the first editions here. And so there you guys go. 10 bones for a leather plate first edition Royal Command. Next is going to be Mask of Restrict. There is a super rare that was dawning out of OTS Pack 2, which is just a little bit over a bone. And then the rest of these other ones are common. So let's take a look at the max rarity. Ideal choice for collectors, the ultra rare dawning from the original set, Labyrinth of Nightmare. Again, Generation 1, super nostalgic, really old school, really great. And this one just basically stops tributes, which is pretty cool because back in the day, the only thing you really tributed for was to tribute summon, whereas now there's a lot more shenanigans going on in this current game state where tributing is more than just used for tribute summoning. So that brings a little bit more of a diversity to this card. And, depending on who you're playing, this could be a potential good side. There's so many different sides that you can choose from. This is just an alternative choice depending on what's going on. There's 4 pages on the market for this. No first editions on the first 2 pages. First edition we're going to get is on the 3rd page. And it's going to start at 16 bones. And then it's going to go to a whopping 26. And then 28. $8. So it's pretty incredible. This is definitely rightfully so, kind of not rightfully so. This is still very, very situational, but it's really old. Mostly the thing that can really justify these price points is that it's old and it's first edition, and everything that's pretty much of the Duel Monsters era first edition is going to be transitioning. It already has and is constantly evolving into the collector's market. So next is going to be Retro Pack 1. So kind of like, again, I just wanted to kind of review some more obscure sets, and Retro Pack has just got crazy value. There was 2 Retro Packs, I believe. I'm pretty sure there was only 2. This was the first one. Got Ultra or Scapegoat out of all things. Apparently this is either 100 or 610, so just a minor price difference there. Got Cyber Harpy Lady as a secret rare, which I could definitely seeing being the most valuable card artwork wise. Unfortunately, we did get the censorship here in the TCG, but we have the Lost Art promotion going on, so maybe we'll see some more of that being released. Amazoness Chainmaster is a secret rare. Ultra Geki, Blast Sphere, Exchange of the Spirit. I believe this is still banned. My personal favorite from this set is Copycat. So of course all of these like top tier secrets or these 2 ultras, are relatively expensive. I don't know if this set was just extremely under manufactured, it was just not mass produced, or there was like a very limited quantity. It was a very limited set. It wasn't really in stores for a very long time. Probably hence why there's just not a lot on the market and why the prices are the way that they are. But this is my favorite card from at least the first one, the first retro pack. And incredibly, there's only 1 on the market. It is a foreign Deutsch copy, and it is 200 bones. So I don't know. I guess the set didn't come in first edition. I think it only just had 1 wave. Interesting enough, as with most of these sets, Dark Revelations, Dark Beginning. I don't think Dark Beginning had a first edition print, if I'm not mistaken. Dark Beginning, Dark Revelations, Retro Pack, and that's all I can really think of at the top of my head right now. But there's plenty of these just obscure kind of offsets that have come out through the years. And you can see here, I mean, these aren't like unfamiliar prints. These cards have been printed in these rarities many times before, but just because of the set that it dawns from, it just happens to be worth quite a bit of money. So I thought that was very interesting. So I'm not going to dip too much into this. Kind of want to just showcase, spotlight it really quick. So if you guys are interested, you can check it out. Also, there is Retro Pack 2, which is holding some pretty great value too if you guys want to take a look at that later on. Banisher of the Light is going to be the next showcasing. This is, again, Generation 1 DM era Magic Ruler. OG Super Rare. This is the highest rarity we currently have here in the TCG. This is, when I look at this card, I just think of anti-meta. Of course, it's a fairy card, but it's really, I think it's grown to predominance in like anti-meta and like Gren Maju builds, removal builds, obviously for basic understanding of the card. Artwork's pretty cool. This card is just it's ancient. It's super super old. This is the highest rarity, and I think honestly that even though this is still very, very cheap, and it's been cheap forever, and I don't really understand why, it's starting to slowly disappear from the market. We're on the third page. We get a first edition for about 2 bones if you factor in shipping. And then moving on here, there's just like sporadic pockets. Here's a 2 for 2 here. And then here's another one for just the same one. And then it goes to like 230. Moving on to page 5. And it kind of just slowly trickles up. So it's not very expensive, it's not very expensive, but you can see it's starting to go away. Like there's 6 pages, and there's just not a lot of stacks. And again, this card, there's some minor movement. It used to be like a half a dollar, $1, and now it's like pretty much right about at 2 plus 3, and then it's quickly jumping to 5. I just think this is a fantastic choice because, again, its effect is just completely blowout. Depending on what you're playing, you slap this bad boy with a Moon Mirror Shield, or if you want to go old school, Mage Power, United We Stand, some other pretty good super cards of this era. And this is really old. The biggest thing is the age. The age is what really gives this card value, and the effect that's just basically a stationary macrocosmos to a certain extent. It's really great. Big fan of that card. Next is going to be Kaiku the Ghost Destroyer. There is a Hobby League version, which is kind of not really significant to me because Legendary Collection 3 donned a secret rare, but more importantly, the OG super rare print from Labyrinth of Nightmare. Now, this card is very old. Again, Labyrinth of Nightmare, as you guys can tell, I do a lot of review on Gen 1 stuff. Gen 1 Yu-Gi-Oh, as I like to call it. I feel like people forget about this effect right here. So it's cool, you knock for some damage, you remove 2 cards, remove 2 monsters, your opponent's graveyard. That's pretty devastating alone, but on top of this, your opponent can't remove any cards from the graveyard from play while it remains face up on the field. This effect, I feel it goes very underlooked. Either a lot of people don't know about this or they forget about it. This is a very powerful effect. Depending on what's going on with the meta, who you're playing, this is always a pretty big power play on your opponent. It really forces your opponent's hand to get this off the board because it's pretty devastating standalone effect. And ripping up their graveyard too is could be pretty disruptive as well. It's a dark level 4, 1800, so not terrible stats on the attack, and of course it's a spellcaster. Artwork is pretty cool too. So this card has a lot going for it besides just being ancient. There's a lot of good stuff going that this card has going. No first editions on the first page or the second page. Only 4 pages on the market here. First edition we're gonna get is gonna be about $5.50, and that goes up to 6, and then it goes up to about 9, 10 time price point after that. So goes up very quickly, and again, I have a few copies of this. I don't think I think max maybe like maybe 9, maybe about 3 play sets or so. So not like a giant super stacker of this, but I really believe in this card. It's a good card. It's old and it's old, and I feel like everyone kind of just forgot about it. But I wouldn't be surprised if a big spellcaster deck comes out, because again, spellcasters, dragons, warriors, fiends are always just big archetypes, big deck cores that come out and have a lot of great meta support. So this is the secret rare version, and again, I would definitely recommend you guys check out Legendary Collections 3. Out of all the Legendary Collections set, I'm a big Advent fan of all the Legendary Collections set. There's a lot of awesome value in them. But Legendary Collection 3 definitely is undoubtedly my favorite Legendary Collection set that we have had so far. So I would definitely check it out. There's a lot of awesome rarities and really great card choices. One of the best sets, I think, that we ever got here in the game. So first editions for the secret rare is going to be about almost 4, and there's only 4 pages of this. Again, so this is kind of a healthier alternative. Technically, it's a higher rarity as a secret, but I would definitely recommend if you guys can find supers for cheaper than market value, or if you guys want to pick up the other first editions I mentioned before, I would definitely recommend it because there's a lot going on with Kaiku. Wind Up Zenmaines for the first edition prints has seen a very strange price increase. For the longest time, I remember picking these up for like $3.5 for like lightly played near mint first editions. There's only 2 versions of this. There's a tin, I think it was 2011 or 2012 tin super rare promos, and then the OG secret rares, which just look gorgeous. This is Dawning from Photon Shockwave, which I believe was the set that came right after Gen Force, which was like era Generation 1 XYZ. Really amazing sets, really great time, a lot of rich history behind these sets, and some really fun decks. Unlimiteds are surprisingly a couple dollars. I don't really know what's going up with. I don't know if people bought these out or if there's like we're getting new wind-up support or what, but this was always one of the most popular extract monsters that the deck core had, and now I feel like it's coming into that kind of collector's era. And maybe that in that with it kind of being chewed up in the market, like there's only 2 pages left, there's really not a lot. But it's all the way up to 16 bones, and then it quickly moves up to 17, and then 20, and then bottoms out at 100 apparently. So it's pretty crazy. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Wind Up Zenmaines finally seeing some good value. So let's talk about X Sabers really briefly. I want to say, if I'm not mistaken, that this is, I think, was a GX era. I wasn't around for GX era. I checked out right before the end of the Duel Monsters era, and then I came back right before, I guess at the end of 5Ds, beginning of Zexal. I'm not mistaken, I think Zexal was, not Zexal. Was Zexal? I can't remember. The era that started with XYZs. I think it was Zexal. I can't remember. Whatever the era was after 5Ds, because it goes Dual Monsters, GX, and then I believe 5Ds, and then whatever era after these, because this was, I think so, GX era. Anyway, X Sabers is a really old school fan favorite deck. I think there's a lot of fanboys out there that would agree with me. This is a really fun deck to pilot. Really cool old school synchro plays that you can do. Really quickly, I just wanted to look at a few of the ultimate rares because they just have some really cool artwork, pretty nice effects, and these cards are getting old. And as time goes on, sets like Absolute Power Force and all that, they're just getting older and older and older. And again, these are ultimate rares as well, so you guys know the stance on. We're very limited on our access to ultimate rares, at least this point in the game. Unlimited alone start off at 12 bones, only 3 pages on the market. Our first editions come from the second page, starting at a whopping almost 23, and it keeps on trickling on after that. So that is pretty incredible. This is one of the more popular synchros, I would say, of the original lineup for the deck core. But my favorite, I really love Dark Soul a lot, more so for the artwork. For effect, it would be definitely Gotham's. Really quick, I like to review this because has the best artwork out of every single and probably any X Saber that will ever be made. Whenever Konami decides to kind of rejuvenize this deck and give it some more support. Dark Soul, it has a cool name. I don't know if this is like a wolf or a fox or anyway. I just love the whole like spooky Reaper scythe. What are these called? Cloaks, I guess. Pumpkin orange cloak, pretty cool. Of course, this is the Ultimate version, being the highest rarity. Unlimiteds are starting around 8, and first rotations are 13, so one of, and then it goes to about 14, and kind of just trickles up after that. Quickly moves up after that. Only 3 pages left of this, so not really so much of a super. I mean, it's got a pretty all right search effect. Unfortunately, it does happen at the end phase if I was reading that correctly. But just a fantastic artwork and just a really great rarity, ultimate rare, old school ultimate rare. Moving into X Saber Gotham. So if I remember, I don't unless they change the rule, I'm pretty sure that you can use this effect more than it doesn't specifically say once per turn. So depending on what your resource count is, you can clear your opponent's hand. I mean, comment below if I'm wrong, if they change this and this is once per turn. Again, this was kind of a after my time deck. People were kind of phasing out of this deck when I came back in the game. And probably the summer of 2011 was about the time frame I came back right after high school. It was right after graduation of high school. So I'm pretty sure. I mean, as it stands, as I read it, it doesn't specifically state once per turn. So that's pretty devastating. It's a 31 beater, and of course, beautiful old school ultimate rare. My personal favorite synchro of the decor. Unlimiteds are a couple bones, only 3 pages on the market, and the first rotation we're gonna get is about 17. For what it is, it's not that bad. I mean, if you're getting any kind of old school ultimate rare first edition, especially if it's an extra deck monster, 20 and under is a pretty solid deal depending on what it is, and it's pretty much what this is right here. It's about averaging about 20 bones. Besides that first one, so pretty awesome. X Sabers, if you guys don't know it, really great history behind this deck. Would definitely check it out. Dual Terminal 5, just kind of want to turbo through this really quick. Crow still holding in one spot with approximately 15-17 price point, which is pretty incredible because there's a lot of pretty cool rarities. There's 2 different super rares. There's the OG Ultimate Rare. I think it has either 1 or 2 ultra rare prints. Of course, the dual terminal. Dual terminal is completely discontinued. So in a certain way, all of these cards are becoming collector values now because you can't get any more. You have Foolish Burial here as a common. It's pretty cool. Karma Cut that kind of saw a little bit of hype with Eldritch. And I think it kind of still does. I'm not really sure. And we got Rare Summon Skull. Got the Gishki stuff. I love the Gishki decor. It's not the best deck in the world, but it's just a fun little side water deck to mess around with, and all of it comes in dual terminal. It's relatively cheap here, so it's pretty cool. Send you 1,000 hands. Some more Gishki stuff. I wanted to talk about Tualatin. Tualatin, however you pronounce this. This is a super rare DT5. You can pause the video, read this effect. I think it's pretty cool. Pretty decent effect for what it is. There's also the original OG print is actually a secret rare. I can't remember from what set. You guys can check it out later if you want. I personally prefer. I'm kind of mixed up because the secret rare first editions, I do have a couple of those. They look very, very nice, but any kind of hollow foil, any kind of dual terminal, I enjoy a lot. But especially when it's a dual terminal hollow foil or even a rare, super rare, they look very, very desirable, very aesthetically pleasing. So I would kind of bank more on this one. Plus, this one's a lot cheaper than the secret rare too, which is kind of interesting because it's not only DT, it's a super rare DT, which is pretty valuable in my opinion. But It's about $2 if you want to factor in shipping. And there's only 3 pages. There's a 21 stack here at the bottom for roughly around almost 2 apiece, so 1.5. And yeah, I think this is a pretty interesting card. So I just kind of wanted to give it a little spotlight. Continuing on, we're just gonna move right along here. That was only the first page. You got more Gishki stuff. All the Gishki artwork is really cool. I really like the artwork a lot, and it's just so cool that all of it comes in dual terminal. You know, if you guys remember, if you're playing back in the day, dual terminal and Hidden Arsenal kind of ran parallel. They had a lot of the same cards and obviously different rarities. It was pretty cool. The Silent Swordsman level stuff, I think these are going to potentially be collectors. Of course, you have the OG Ultimate Rares, which are like ungodly expensive, but these are pretty cool too because, again, they're still hollow foil and they're DT, so that makes them pretty special on their own merit alone. Level Eater, this is currently banned. I think this has potential to come back eventually. Again, as I stated before, I think it comes back eventually. It's just a matter if it gets errated or not. I don't remember. I think this has maybe a super rare hollow foil. I don't think it has anything bigger than that. So this being DT would definitely be the ideal choice because there isn't really going to be a better version. I mean, this one is a super rare hollow foil. The rest of this stuff is pretty junky. It's all just common. So personally, it's a collector's tin promo. So that alone, kind of, in a way, I mean, it's all up to perspective if it comes out of I'm not out of a core set or not, if you guys have a decrease in value or not. But honestly, I think this is the best for what we have right now until we get a secret rare or even an ultimate rare. This card would look really nice in an ultimate rare, I think. But the dual terminal 5, I think, is going to outshine the super rare for me personally. And this card is relatively cheap. I think it's just like, a little over $1. Here's a 13 of right here from Core TCG. This is a really great business. I buy from them relatively frequently. Hardly ever mess up orders. And, there's a lot of stacks. There's a 39, 30, 21, 13, and, they're all under $1. So there's plenty to go around. 3 pages left. So you guys can take a look at that. A lot of good stuff. Remember, dual terminal is discontinued. If you guys recall, this used to be like a little video game that you would go and play, mostly in comic book stores or wherever else. I only saw them in comic book stores. I don't really know where else. Maybe in Japan they had them in casinos or, I don't know, arcades. I never really spent a lot of time in arcades or casinos, so I'm not really sure. But this is a discontinued rarity, discontinued line of products. So that's like the cool thing that's kind of rich about these cards. You get Elemental Hero Ocean as a rare trap stun. This is pretty great. I'm always kind of torn between this, but I always prefer the Legendary Collection. I think it was 5D's Dawn Day Secret Rare. So getting that first edition secret is pretty nice. Some more Gishki stuff. Really like the artwork in this one, how it has like the cave and the beach and the moon. And the ocean looks very, very relaxing. It's like a paradise imagery. What else do we have here? Gusto is pretty cool too. The Tricky. We got some more level Silent Swordsman stuff. Puppet Master. It's actually a pretty cool card. The original super rare is from Seesaw Crossroads Chaos, if I remember correctly. And there was some minor hype behind this card once upon a time. It died down pretty quick, but there's still an interesting effect when you play it out. This is really surprising. Jellin Duo, this card used to be a lot more. I feel like it used to be a lot more. This is a common. Of course, there is a secret rare version, which is significantly cheaper, but this is still very, very nice as a DT. And it's strangely like extremely cheap. Like this isn't. So I mean, it's like a marshmallow, but like better per se, because you can use it to bust out Christia or any kind of other big, fairy beat sticks, and it's got pretty interesting artwork. And I don't know, this card just reminds me of cotton candy. It makes me like want to go to the fair and get like a funnel cake or something. But this is really cheap. I actually bought some of these not too long ago, and I was super excited because I think I bought them for like $2 a piece. I really don't know why these are so cheap because they were relatively expensive for quite a while. And here's like a 5 stack here, here's a 40 stack here for like a bone, another 30 stacks. So I don't know, maybe people just started listing these more, re-put them into circulation. They're not being manufactured, that's for sure. I mean, people must be, digging these up out of their grandma's attic or their basement or shoebox or something. I'm not really sure where the abundance of the quantity came from, but it definitely flushed down the market price a lot, which actually I'm really happy about because I really like that card a lot. So if you guys like it too, you guys can get it at a lot more affordable rate now. So got more Gishki stuff. And I think we're kind of starting to slow down. There really shouldn't be much of anything else that's going to be too impressive in this set. Stragglers in the last pages kind of just hanging out. All right, so moving on, Infernity Barrier. So I really love Infinities. Again, this was just a relatively old school, if I'm so bold to say now, fanboy deck. Really, really fun. And this is one of the decks that I'm working on building Max Rarity personally. There's a lot of projects that I'm kind of mixing through right now. This is one of them. And I have a couple of these. I believe, I don't know, I have to have at least probably 9 or 6 of these first edition. And it's had an uptick for the first edition specifically. The unlimiteds are, a couple dollars, only some relatively okay price points. But when we get to the first editions, you hear on the second page, they jump all the way up to 25 bones. And it's been a while since they've held such a rich price point, so I think that this is very interesting. I just kind of wanted to bring this to your guys' attention if you like Infernities or if you have this card, because I have it and I like Infernities. Next is going to be Jaugen the Spiritualist. This is another really old card, original rare, dying from Generation 1, very nostalgic Labyrinth of Nightmare. There's also a copy print, rare, out of Dark Beginning 2, and then we got some other commons here. So, of course, personal opinion, the best is going to be the OG print, first edition exclusively. This, kind of like Kaiku, is I feel like this card's so old and people have completely forgot about this card. It's a pitch 1 to destroy all special summon monsters on the field. Okay, it's randomly, which is kind of unfortunate. But depending on what you're playing, if you want to pitch cards in the hand and pop off effects, that could potentially be not really a negative at all. But more so, it's the second underlining effects that people kind of forget about or tend not to pay attention to. It's basically a Dyna. It's a fossil Dyna. As long as it remains face up on the field, no monsters can be special summoned. This is a devastating effect, especially if you have your board established. You bust this out, and you have resources to defend it. Whatever that may be, one of your Mirror Force variants or Wabaku, Moon Mirror Shield, whatever it is that whatever your sauce is that you like to splat out there. So there's 3 pages left, and there's no first editions on the first page. First edition is going to be on the second page for about 3 plus once you factor in shipping. And that goes to about 4. Moving into the last page, and these are like, there's not really stacks. You can see most of these were one of. This is an ancient card, so I'm not surprised. So this is pretty cool. Again, this is kind of just like a long forgotten card, and I'm a huge anti-meta player, so not surprisingly, not so surprisingly, of course, I'm going to kind of bring up like these kind of themed cards. But that is all I have for you guys tonight. I hope you guys are making some amazing, amazing Yu-Gi-Oh! Investments yourself. I have social media. The link is going to be below if you guys want to get in touch with me. Best way is through Facebook. I would love to hear any kind of ideas or suggestions or just simply talk Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a giant passion of mine. I've invested a great deal of my life into this game, and it's very important to me. It's a big passion of mine, and I really enjoy it, and I would love to hear from each and every one of you. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day. This has been a showcasing by the White Mexican, and I will see you in the next video.